Welcome. My name's Darwin Nordin. I'm a visual artist, live in the Seattle area, and have been working as a teaching artist for over 25 years. I've worked in public schools, private schools, museums, galleries, have spent a considerable amount of time working in juvenile detention centers with both boys and girls. I enjoy my work very much, find it very interesting to bring creative experiences to people of all ages. My philosophy is pretty much to provide an opportunity for students to work, to do, and oftentimes the doing is more important than the end product. So it's process over product, and I enjoy presenting them with puzzling experiences sometimes, experiences that pose more questions than answers. The thing that excites me most about being a teaching artist is sort of being witness to creativity and trying to get kids to understand that we all have the capacity to be creative and the opportunity to mess around with our hands, to tinker and putter and play and create something. I love to design experiences that engage people in the creative process, which help them see the world as an artist would, to work with something they maybe have not had any experience working with, and helping them understand that it doesn't have to be perfect. Not everything is a work of art, but everything is a product of our creativity. Lessons that integrate science and math and history and share a moment of talking about the art we've made. Looking at examples, talking about what we see, sharing each other's ideas about what we see and how they're different. So, to start with, let's think about what we're going to do first, and that is we're going to make a book. The book we're going to make is very simple to make. It just involves folding paper. To get started, let's all grab a sheet of paper. I'm using 12 by 18. You don't necessarily have to, but that's the size I like to use for this project because of what we'll do with it later. We're going to fold it in a very particular way, and I'm going to guide you through that experience. You'll need a scissors, and it helps to have a pen, the edge of a pen, or a book folding bone to make the creases nice and crisp. The magic of it is that we'll all succeed because I'm going to show you how. So grab a sheet of paper, and let's make this form. So to get started, I'm going to guide you through the steps for folding the book. Sometimes I tell the students what it is. It's going to be a book. Sometimes I don't, because I like them to do this folding and then discover in the end what it's going to be. What you do is the first fold is done folding the short side of the paper in half. So what we're going to do is grab one of the long edges and bring it up to the corners. And I like to line it up on the corners and then hold it. And one of the best ways I have found to fold it is to push down in the middle and then off to the ends like that. It's good for the students to learn that because when they start at one end and try to fold it, it usually gets off-centered there. So that's the first fold. The next step that I guide students in with this is to reverse the crease. So like in a lot of origami projects, you're just reversing the crease like a hinge. So now it's flexible both directions. The next fold is we're going to fold the long side in half, and we're going to fold that end to this end, line up the corners and the edge, push down in the center again. You could use your finger, but I find that a book folding bone, this one's made out of wood, works really nice to make that crease nice and crisp. You could also simply use the edge of a pen. So here's a pen, and you can just push down there. So this is pretty straightforward. Students follow along really nicely. And I just watch the room to make sure that they're following along. And look for the experts that can help me teach the others how to do it, so I'm not running around doing that. The next fold we're going to do, and I do this two different ways. If it's a heavy sheet of paper, I like to fold one of the loose ends to the crease we just made. And this is a 80-pound paper, so it's fairly heavy. And I line up the edges and crease that. And then I flip it over and I do the same thing with the other end. Now, the simplest way to get students to do this if you're using a lightweight paper is to just do the fold at the same time. And I'll show you how that's done. So now I'm just reversing the creases so that they work nice and smooth. So we have all of our folds made now. And this is where I like to do a little mental math with the kids. So once the folds are made, you can actually do this while they're working too, but one of the neat things you can do is you can have them do a little mental math. If this is 12 by 18 sheet of paper, and we fold it in half along the long side, you ask them how big the piece of paper is. So they have to do the math in their head. And then you can do the same thing if they fold it this way. So I'll let you do the mental math to figure that one out. All right, this is all folded now. So what we've done is we've divided the paper into 8 equal segments, and they're rectangles. So what the next step involved is to take that piece of paper and you're going to fold it along the long edge again, just in half. So now you have a crease and 2 open ends, or an open side like this. What I like to do here is to have everybody in the room grab this corner, and I say, you've got the closed side, right, in your fingers. I want you to pull that towards you so that basically it's open on the end facing away from you. What you're going to do is you're going to make a cut now in the paper, and I want you to watch me first before you make this cut, just to make sure you do it correctly, because you're only going to cut to a certain point. So grab your scissors, and you're going to place the scissors on the fold that's running away from you, and you're going to cut from the folded edge of the paper to the center. So you're going to stop when you get to that fold that goes perpendicular to the one you're cutting on. So what you've done is you've cut your paper to have a slash in it like this. And I like to open it up, show the students that, and also open the whole page up and show them that they have a hole in the paper rather than 2 loose ends. And I could show you the way that you do it incorrectly. I like to monitor the room at that point, look to see if everybody's been successful. If they haven't, I either have them try again, or sometimes I have one already folded and I hand it to them and they fold it up. Okay, so we have basically most of the folding done. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the piece of paper, open it all the way up. You're going to fold it down like this. So you're folding the short side in half. And what you end up with is this open space again. And what you're going to do with this is push in to form this sort of trapezoid, this triangle, square sort of thing, and you're going to push it together. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find a point where it will just collapse on itself like that to form this book. Now there's some times it folds better one way than another. And then just pick up your bone or use your finger and crease this so that it works. This is where, if I haven't told them it's going to be a book, I say, so what have we created? By then they're already saying, it's a book, it's a book, it's a book. And the neat thing about that is that if they're successful, they have this wonderful book that has 8 pages. It has a cover. This is a page, this is a page, this is a page. We go on like this. So we have 6 in the inside of the book if we count the cover. It's a great book. You can make it in any size piece of paper. This is the format that I like to work in for this project because of the size of it. It's manageable, it's not too big, it's not too small for what we're going to want to do with it. The other thing I need to remind the students and you is that you don't want to make any adjustments to this book using your scissors, because if you cut to try to straighten edges that are imperfect, you're going to destroy the integrity of the book. It's going to flop apart. So just tell them that if you haven't made it perfect this time, you will next time, because you've had one to practice on. It's a great way to get them going. I usually reach in my back pocket, which I think I have one in my pocket today, because I make one of these every day. And it becomes my notebook that I carry, my little mini sketchbook notebook. So this is one made out of a 9 by 12 sheet of paper. And what I like about this is that it offers me this immediate sketchbook. And when I run out of pages on one side, so if I run out of pages here, I just started this one today. So if I run out of pages, I can turn it inside out and do it again. So the other thing that I really like to do at this point in the project is to talk to the students about what they've made. So they say it's a book, and I say, well, what is a book? Let's come up with a definition of a book. And so that's when they start to identify. You'll hear them say, well, it's got pages. And I say, well, where are the pages? How many pages do we have? And they'll even show you, which is great. So I counted out the pages earlier, and we have 8 if you include counting the cover and the back. This is where I also ask them, have you ever heard what a spine is? Some of them already know. The spine of the book is the folded edge of the book. That's where the book stays closed, and then your pages open freely from that. The other thing that I like to teach them is that you not only have pages, you have what are called spreads, which is when two pages are open together like this, they create a larger spread, two opposing pages. And this is important when they start exploring the design process of making books, which is something I do a lot with kids. Even when I'm doing other art projects, they often make one of these and it becomes a sketchbook that helps them form new ideas, work through problems, take notes on paint colors they're using. And it's a great way to use this little book as a tool for assessing what they've done, because you can see their work, you can see their thinking process. The other thing I like to show them is when I talk about books is where did the book start? When did it start? So we talk a little bit about the history. And I even talk back to the idea of a scroll, and we know what a scroll is, and that's a rolled form of a book. Probably originated in Egypt, China, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the neat thing about this is that it's very different. It's got to be tied shut. This will stay shut, more or less. But the difference, I like to say, well, if I asked you to go to page 14 in the scroll, how would you know how to get there? So they go, well, you'd have to scroll through, and you might unroll a half a mile of the scroll to get to that page. In the book, it becomes really easy for them to find page 14. They can either count it, or there's a page number on the page, and you can get to it very rapidly. This will also take up less space than a scroll oftentimes, just when you're reading it. You don't have to roll the whole thing out. So this is the opportunity to talk about this as a form. It's something that we've created out of one sheet of paper. It's a great tool that can be used for a lot of different things. I'm going to guide you through an experience that I love to do with this that introduces them to just the potential of this form. This form, which can also be sculptural, can stand in space. It can also be read differently. You can read it from front to back in this portrait mode, or you can turn it landscape or calendar style and read it this way. So, great opportunity to just talk to them about this form they've created. Of course, it's empty and they're probably eager to put something in it, and we're going to get to that step next.